Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Elden Ring walkthrough. In this episode, we are going to be going through the tutorial cave, also known as the Cave of Knowledge. So let's go ahead and get started. At the end of the last episode, I think that we rested at the site of Grace. So let's go ahead and go back into that menu and take a look at what there is in here. So we can pass the time of day, which doesn't really make much of a difference when we're inside an area. But once we get out into the world, there's definitely going to be times where we want to do this. Different events can happen at different times of day. Flasks, so this is referring to the Crimson and Cerulean flasks. So if you have a golden seed, which that was one of the items that we could pick at the very beginning, you can use that to increase the number of flasks to use. This one is going to increase the amount of HP and FP that gets replenished by the flask, and the item for that is going to be a sacred tear. We will be picking up plenty of those, so don't worry, that is going to be very useful later. And then allocating the flask charges. So with this menu, you can allocate the number of uses in each of your flasks. You have a set total number, or you have a set total of maximum flask uses. You can decide how many of these uses are for HP replenishing flask of Crimson Tears, and how many are for the FP replenishing flask of Cerulean Tears. So as you can see, I have a total of 4 that I can use, and if I don't really care about my health and I want to use all magic or skill type points, then I could put all 4 of those into the flask of Cerulean Tears. I personally prefer, even though I'm playing as a magic-based character, I still prefer to have a little bit more healing than magic. But as we go through the game and increase those, we'll kind of even them out a little bit, so that we can make sure that we have plenty of points to use for magic. So I'm going to just keep mine at 3 and 1. Next is memorize spells. With the memorize spells menu, you can memorize sorceries and incantations. You must have a staff equipped to cast sorceries, or a sacred seal equipped to cast incantations. Casting sorceries and incantations consumes FP. Your memory slots determine the number of sorceries and incantations you can memorize. You can increase your memory slots by obtaining a memory stone, and we will be finding those as well. So currently I have the Glintstone Pebble and the Glintstone Arc being used or equipped right now, just to the right of where these are. You can see that there are 2 memory slots. I have 0 empty, and I have a total of 95 FP. If I were to select that, then I can use the bumpers to kind of scroll through. This shows all of the sorceries and incantations that I currently have, and then offensive sorceries, support, so on and so on. That's what that menu looks like. And then sort chest. With this menu, you can place items that you're carrying into the chest for storage, or take stored items out of the chest. If you're already carrying the maximum number of items, when you pick up a new item, it will be stored in the chest automatically. So this is basically just like an infinite storage chest. So if you have a lot of items and you don't feel like going through your inventory anytime you want to equip something, and like trying to sort through everything that you have, that's a good way to keep things sorted out. So let's go ahead and start going through the Cave of Knowledge. One thing that I do want to point out, if you press right on the D-pad or the direction pad, you'll switch weapons. So if you have multiple armaments in your right hand, some of the tutorials that we're going to be looking at and seeing through here, we might want to use a sword as opposed to magic. So let's just start with the sword. So RB, right bumper, is going to be your attack. with whatever armament is in your right hand. And you can keep swinging and swinging as much as you want until your stamina runs low. I'll show you that in just a second. So sorceries and incantations you can memorize. At Sites of Grace, you must have a staff equipped. We've already discussed that. And pressing up on the D-pad will switch what sorcery and incantation you have equipped at any time. So currently I've got the Glintstone Arc, and then I can switch it between that and the Pebble. So you've already seen the Pebble. Let me show you what the Arc looks like. So if you have a large group of enemies, that one's going to spread out and be really, really good. All right, guarding. Use an armament in your left hand or both hands to guard against incoming attacks. Guarding is especially effective when done with a shield. Guarding consumes stamina. If your stamina runs out, your stance will be broken. So left bumper to guard. And you can see, did not need to do that. So you can see in the top left corner, once I get into combat, you'll see the green bar, and that's my stamina. So if I start swinging my sword, okay, now I'm finally probably in combat and it'll show it. Dodging, you can avoid enemy attacks with a dodge roll or a backstep. Both of these actions consume stamina. So using the direction or the left thumbstick and the B button, you'll dodge roll. If you press it without a direction, then you'll just backstep. And you'll be able to see the stamina bar going down anytime I do an action, whether it's swinging my sword, dodging, and obviously the more that you use, the more that bar will go down, and then it takes a little bit of time to replenish. So one of the things that showed earlier was using guarding. So if you press LB, the left bumper, and hold your shield up, then you can block the attack. So you can see that did use up some stamina when I took that hit, and then also that. So let's go ahead and kill this guy and move on. And pressing the A button to jump. And then we have this guy up here shooting arrows. From a distance, the arrows move pretty slow, so it's fairly easy to just kind of dodge them like that. But let's go ahead and get this guy taken care of. If you have like a bow and arrow or magic spells, you might as well just go ahead and get rid of him. Alright, so let's move forward. Okay, so this is a material that we can acquire. This is going to be a crafting material. In every corner of the lands between, you will find fruits and flowers, mushrooms and butterflies, and various other useful materials. These materials can be used for item crafting. So the one we found is called the Roa fruit. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. And this is the card about materials that we just read. Material used for crafting items. Berry-like red fruits that grow in shrubs. Material used for crafting items. Easily found everywhere in the lands between. It has a wide variety of uses. So I've got another one here. And let's keep on going. And let's see what the next tutorial is going to be. Alright, wielding armaments. Each hand can be equipped with up to 3 armaments, allowing you to toggle between them. Armaments can also be two-handed, making attacks more difficult to repel with shields and boosting effective strength by 50%. So using the direction pad to the right, we'll switch our right-hand armament, which I already showed, and switching left will switch our left-hand armament. If you want to hold your weapon or even a shield two-handed, you hold down the Y button and press LB or RB, depending on which item you want to dual wield. So if I do that with the RB, I can dual wield my sword. I can do that, and jumping attack. I can still block with just this. It's not going to be as effective with the shield, but I broke him. Broke his guard by hitting him enough times and then doing the critical hit. by moving in when he was stunned like that. All right, let's keep moving. Lost a little bit of health, but not too big of a deal. All right, so we can push in the right stick to lock onto an enemy. You can see the little white dot, and then if you use the right stick moving left and right, then you can switch which enemy is being targeted. So let's go ahead and use that glintstone art. You can see that it just continues to pass through multiple enemies, so that can be really, really powerful. All right, this is the little bridge where that archer was, and because we attacked him, he ended up dropping down there. So let's move forward again. And we're going to switch to the sword one more time. And this is going to show us how to use our skills. So armaments have special abilities called skills. Skills are highly varied and range from powerful attacks to temporary effects. Using skills consumes FP, and you use the left trigger to do a skill. So you can see on the sword I have, well, on the shield I have parry, but if I dual wield on the sword I have kick. So if I do the left trigger, I can kick an enemy. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but if he had a shield, it would maybe not completely break its guard, but it would definitely start working the hidden guard number down, and we would be able to break his guard more quickly. And crouching. Crouch to make it harder for enemies to discover you, especially effective in tall grass. Attacking an enemy that hasn't noticed you will cause more damage than usual. You use the pushing in the L stick or the left stick to crouch and stand up. So if we click that, we crouch, click it again to stand up. When you're crouched, you can run. So if you hold down the B button when you're running or moving like that, you run. And if you do it while crouched, you'll move a little bit quicker, and you are still moving quietly. So let's go ahead and sneak up on this guy and do a critical attack. You can get right up behind him and actually continue moving, which I'll show you on this one. So RB, near a back-turned enemy, critical hit. So I can be right up next to him and just pushing right up against him, and he doesn't notice me as long as I'm crouched. And we can do the critical hit. Alright, well, let's keep going forward. Alright, stance breaking. Some attacks may break an enemy's stance, giving you a chance to perform a critical hit. Charge attacks and jump attacks make it particularly easy to break an enemy's stance. Hold right trigger to charge attack, and right trigger while jumping to do a jump attack. Okay, so I've already showed you the right bumper to do a regular attack. The right trigger will do a heavy attack. So then if we hold it, and that'll be like a charged heavy, and then jump heavy attack. So charge, hit him, you can see that it broke his stance, and now we can do a critical hit. And the same thing is going to happen with a jumping heavy attack. It's not going to always work for every single enemy or boss, but it will do additional stance damage to them. Kind of like when we were hitting the guy with the shield and it ended up breaking his guard. There's kind of like a hidden meter of like an amount of guard stat that they have. And by hitting them with charge attacks and jump attacks, you're going to break that down a lot quicker. And now we have the Stakes of America. Upon dying, you will be revived at the last site of grace that you visited. However, if there is a Stake of America near where you died, you can choose to be revived there instead. This is extremely useful, especially if you're fighting against a boss and there's one of these Stakes of America closer to the boss arena than a site of grace, so you don't have to run back quite as far. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Flask of Crimson Tears to heal up. This enemy is not difficult at all, but the shield that I have isn't going to do completely like 100% damage negation, so I don't want to take any chances. But this is the final tutorial in here about a guard counter. So you can perform a counter attack immediately after blocking an enemy attack. Guard counters make it easy to break an enemy's stance. So you'll do RT, or a heavy attack, immediately after blocking an attack to do a guard counter. You'll hear the sound that it makes when they block, and then when you hit the right trigger, there's a different sound for your attack that you'll hear. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, well, let's try it again. And it is possible, as you saw, for the enemy to do multiple attacks in a row and interrupt your guard counter, which is exactly what happened there. So yeah, that's the Soldier of Godric, and we have finished the Cave of Knowledge. So you can see we're back where we started. That's the little ghostly figure. Let's see here, what is he called? The Stranded Soul is what those guys are called, according to the Elden Ring strategy guide that I have that was published by Future Press. If you have a chance to ever look at those books or get some for yourself, they are absolutely amazing. Really good strategy guides and excellent artwork. Really, really well made. All right, and then we've got an item here, and that is a new emote, which is called Strength. So, okay. And then let me go ahead and show you how to use that. So if you go into your menu screen, if you move to the right, you'll see that we have 6 items here in the pouch, and then we have 6 spots that we can use gestures. Typically, gestures are going to be used in multiplayer, co-op, and competitive. There are some times during the game that we will use gestures, so when we get to that, I will obviously show you what needs to be done. So I just clicked the X button to delete them, and then I can switch, and then this is where you can select which 6 you want to have quick and easy access to. So this is the one that we just picked up, which was Strength. So let's go back out, and A to confirm, and that's the emote. So like I said, I don't use them very often unless it's absolutely needed to do something kind of secret or whatever in the game. So all right, so that's pretty much everything in here. Let's go ahead and keep moving forward. All right, we've got another Site of Grace. Let's go ahead and activate that. All right, and then also just to show you, I have 2 healing flasks if I use one, and I have one of the cerulean. Use that one. So I'm completely empty. When I rest at the Site of Grace, I don't have to interact with the menu or do anything. I can just exit, and you'll see that I have everything back. So you can also see that I have that Lands Between rune active in my item bar, and I want to go ahead and get rid of that now, just so that I don't accidentally use it. So if we go into the equipment screen, the equipment menu, you can equip armaments, arrows, bolts, armor, talismans, and items. You can equip up to 3 armaments, each to your left hand and right hand. The actions each armament performs will vary based on which hand is wielding it. Okay, so you can see in my right hand I have the astrologer's staff and the short sword. In my left hand I have the signature wooden shield. And then on my head, body, hands, and legs, I've got the astrologer's set. This is where talismans are going to go. Those are going to be just like extra stat boosts and have extra different special abilities and functions. So we're going to be picking up pretty much all of those throughout the game. So you can do a lot of really cool different things with the character build that you want to do. And then this is the quick items that you have. So anything that is in this set of 10 items, you'll be able to select from your little quick select bar when you use the D-pad. So I'm going to go ahead and click X to remove this item. I'm going to remove both of those. I just like to keep it organized by having the healing and then the FP. So you can use items from the equipment menu, or you can use them from the inventory. These are all the tutorials that I've already read, so I don't need to do that. And then if I wanted to use the Lance Between room, then I can come in here and use the item. So, all right, so this is a fog wall. Unlike the boss room that was gold, this one is just white. So we can't get into that area unless we interact with this statue. And this is one of the imp statues where we could use the stone sword key if we had picked that up at the beginning. So if we say yes, oh, we don't have one, and then it'll tell you no stone sword key in your inventory. And here's another really good tip, that right now I'm pressing the right bumper trying to attack. So if I had enemies around me and I have that little text box up that says no stone sword key in inventory, you can't do anything. You can't dodge, you can't attack until you hit the Y button again to clear that. So make sure that if you see a text box like that, hit the Y button so that you can clear it out. Okay, next item here is about cooperative multiplayer. Use the tarnished furled finger to write a gold summon sign. Cooperative multiplayer will begin once you have been summoned by a player from another world. You will take the role of an ally, Furled Finger, and your objective is to defeat the area boss. The compass at the top of the screen indicates the direction of the summoner, or the host of fingers. I've never actually done any co-op in Elden Ring, so I am not very familiar with it, so I'm just going to pretty much read the items that are to deal with multiplayer, and I honestly don't know where to look other than like YouTube, looking up videos of how to do multiplayer if that's something that you're interested in looking into. So the items we picked up were the Finger Severer and the Tarnished Furled Finger. And let's go ahead and read those descriptions real quick in the inventory. So the Furled Finger creates a summon sign for cooperative multiplayer. Item for online play, creates a summon sign for cooperative multiplayer. Arrive as a cooperator with the objective of defeating the area boss of the world to which you were summoned. A finger of corpse wax, furled like a hook. It is a relic of those who came before, left to help those who would come after. So if I understand this one right, it means that you put this sign down and you are offering to help somebody in another world, basically. So if they summon you, then your goal is to help them defeat whatever boss they're summoning you to help with. And then the Finger Severer is use as a host of fingers to select a summoned player and send them back into their world. Use when you have been summoned to another player's world to return to your own world. This phantom blade severs the link formed by a furled finger, but the maidens scorned those who abuse its use. So again, if I'm understanding this correctly, if you're summoned and you want to leave and come back to your own game, you can use this item. If you have somebody summoned helping you and you want to send them away, then you can also use this item. So that's my best guess, and I'm hoping I'm right. So let's go ahead and move forward. This here is going to be an elevator, so when you step on the middle, the elevator goes up. If for some reason you come back down here later or teleport to the site of grace and the elevator is not down and you want to move up, then you can just use this lever and I'll bring the elevator to you. Common sense, I think, but just wanted to point it out so that you know where it is. Alright, there's nothing else in here unless you want to roll around and break some stuff. which is always fun. All right, and now for the coolest first big reveal of the game. We walk out into Limgrave. This is absolutely stunning. I remember the first time I walked out of there and saw this and just realized how absolutely massive this game is and it's going to be, and I love it. Looks so good. All right, so if you look off to this direction over here, you can kind of see right above my head that like island with the statue up there on it. That is, I believe that's the island. Yeah, that's where we started, up at the Chapel of Anticipation, where we ended up fighting the Grafted Scion by that statue. So yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of where we were, that's the castle that we were looking at, and also able to see this massive tree. Like I said, we're going to learn a lot more about that. Alright, so let's go ahead over here to the Site of Grace. We'll activate it, and then this is where we will end this episode. We'll talk to that guy next time. Alright, so I just want to say thank you very much for joining, and I still need to read this. Guidance of Grace. Grace exists to guide the tarnished and lead them along the proper path. Even now, some sites of grace retain that power. Their golden rays will guide you along their way. So when we first walked up to it, it was kind of swirling around it, but now you can see it's kind of a path. And if we follow that path, that's going to lead us to kind of a next objective. So the next thing that we're going to do is we'll talk to this person here, and then we'll head up to that church that is in the distance that it's pointing to. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.